Boys, are you ready for some hardcore financial speculations about Pizza Hut? I know I am, and it's gonna be absolutely great. So let's get started. Amazing channel, by the way.
Pizza Hut is what I would consider an iconic American brand. Thinking back, they're
True?
kind of like the perfect family restaurant. Honestly, how many of you watching this have these great memories of eating there with your family? Maybe.
Fact about that statement. Most fast food restaurants like Pizza Hut, McDonald's, KFC, and so on were known at the time as family friendly restaurants. That is simply because that was the easiest way to market yourself. Because most of these companies started or got big exactly at the time when family values were in an absolute all time high. So, one of the easiest way to market yourself and get reasonable success always was to just label yourself as the family friendly place you can take your kids to and even to a certain degree socialize.
Had your birthday party there, or maybe you participated in their book it reading program where you earned one
No idea what's a book at reading program, and I also never had a party there because my parents were cheap, but it is what it is.
of those colorful pins, or my favorite, a personal pan pizza. It would sure take a lot to get that pizza, but it was on another level. I'm sure that many of us have similar memories involving Pizza Hut, which is
No,
why it's upsetting to see
I don't even have a Pizza Hut still in my country.
them like this. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that they are in any immediate danger of shutting down. Pizza Hut is still pretty stable.
Now, to be fair, Pizza Hut is known outside of the USA as like pretty much the pizza spot in America. So it's really hard for a place like that to just magically shut down or even shut down in a year or even 10 years. Places like this can run with on minimum income and minimum locations for an extremely long time if they were at some point in their lives extremely big or pretty much at the top. So that's also just a fun fact.
And I'm guessing that they're going to be with us for quite a while. But I do have strong evidence to suggest that Pizza Hut has seen better days. In 2019,
That would honestly be extremely easy to find. You just look up their yearly papers, and that's it.
they announced that they would be closing 500 of their 7,500 US locations over the
7,500 total locations, and they close 500. That's not even 10%. That's 7 point, yeah, that's 7.5 if I'm not mistaken. That's not a huge deal. But the interesting fact is the fact that they are closing these locations. So I'm going to instantaneously assume, and I may be actually wrong on this, that Pizza Hut is one of the most iconic places to eat pizza. Honestly, I only have heard the name pizza and Domino's. Probably some other obscure place that mainly is pizza, but I don't know the name. So the fact that it's closing locations is intriguing because it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it could be a bad thing. The fact that they are closing only 500 locations, which is not even 10%, doesn't necessarily, it just symbolizes on its own that that's not exactly maybe the worst thing ever. 7,000 locations, that's a lot. It's questionable are all of those locations in good positions. Maybe they're gonna close locations and then reopen them in more advantageous positions, because overlap is completely useless, as we all know. So that is a good question. If they either these locations are just bad and don't make money, well, they're obviously bad and they don't make money. But this could mean a lot of things. This is not necessarily bad. Maybe they are just cutting the fat off, trimming themselves, because it's pointless to have these locations. And not a lot of places understand that they have too many locations, honestly. Well, at some point they just do a massive shutdown, which is clear that they have done it. So they have good reason for it. And only 500? That means that these places most likely were raking in absolutely nothing revenue wise and were non-sustainable. That's just a guess, but I guess we're gonna see.
next 2 years. It's part of their long term plan that involves closing underperforming restaurants and replacing them. I'll touch more on it later.
Yeah, replacing them. Yeah, obviously. If it was something bigger, we probably would have heard about it already. Because when you just shut down a bunch of places, you usually say that you're gonna replace them or that you're not gonna replace them. Because Pizza Hut is a publicly traded company. I'm pretty sure that's the case. So they do need to make these statements.
But for the time being, that is a significant downsizing. In fact, the
Honestly, it's not that significant.
presidents of the company, along with other top executives, have expressed that they haven't been happy with Pizza Hut's overall performance.
A statement like this doesn't actually mean anything without numbers. The executives can say that, which can mean that uh, unhappy is, by the way, in corporate speak, way different than using the term dissatisfied. So, dissatisfied means bad things. Dissatisfied means usually that it's either hardcore stagnation or it's going down. Considering they're closing locations in 2 years, we need to see a little bit. We need to see some kind of numbers here. But the fact that they're using the word dissatisfied is dissatisfied is one of the stronger words to use in situations like this. But it doesn't necessarily mean the worst case scenario. It just means it's a little bit worse than you would expect.
Looking at their sales over the past few years, they have actually.
Okay, what is this? 2014, 15, 16, 17, and they have been absolutely stagnant as all hell. 2019, there's a small boost. I really should learn when they announced the lockdowns in America for the unknown disease of origin. But this is a pretty bad graph if we consider that Pizza Hut is not the number one place in America to eat pizza. If you are, then being stagnant may mean that you have most likely cornered the market. But that kind of seems a little bit untrue considering they have seemingly been stagnant for, 6 years almost. And they absolutely received no COVID bump here, so that is actually bad news. And on 2020, it seemed to go back. Oh, this is pretty strange. If we also adjust for inflation, that actually means that this graph is kind of going down. Because the reality is, 5 years ago, that if a pizza costed $2, now it costs $3. Completely made up numbers. But considering this, also I would love to see store amounts here, how many stores you have, or the average cost of a pizza, I guess, or units sold even. Units sold and store amounts honestly would be extremely valuable data to see here. But honestly, from this, it doesn't look good. The way that this is displayed, it's intentionally displayed to make people think that, hey, it's actually not that bad. Because they are showing it in money, and money is an extremely unreliable thing to show over the years. But stagnation, as I said previously, is a good reason why they are dissatisfied about it. So, interesting. A very interesting graph. We really need to see some of their competitors.
Been fairly consistent, which may not seem like much of an issue, but it is concerning.
True.
See, when we compare that to Domino's,
See? You always compare it. One graph can tell you a lot, but one graph cannot usually tell you what is actually happening. Okay, so yeah, here we can see. So 2019, the COVID bomb happens, and you can see it's going a lot more up than anything else. The interesting thing is, yeah, they overtook them in sales, but that's not a big thing. In reality, it's like Domino's is going on whoop, but Pizza Hut is also going down. Which means they were at the top most likely, but now they're... Well, they were... So they cornered the market, which means they didn't sell more at that time period, because let's say they cornered the market. The biggest company usually will make excuses that they have cornered the market, and now it's really hard to find new people because they are already they're already essentially milking every person eating there, because every person is eating there. But now that we see Domino's, they are probably in hot water. But the interesting thing is that even if these two lines are comparable, which I'm not even sure if they are, because there are multiple ways to display money, with taxes, without taxes, pure profit, blah blah blah. I'm assuming these are the same numbers of money. So the fact that they got taken like this definitely puts not Domino's, but Pizza Hut in extremely hot water, because that means they didn't even corner the market at any point. A newcomer came up and pretty much swept them. The only thing is that, considering these two lines are equal, that means that Pizza Hut actually probably did not lose too many customers out. So they're not losing customers, which is strange, but Domino's is taking in way more and oversupplying the market. It doesn't make sense that Pizza Hut is not going down. Huh. That needs to be investigated. How the hell can Domino's rise and then Pizza Hut is just not going down in sales? Unless there is a third pizza company that I literally do not know of. And by the way, the fact that I guess Domino's is absolutely luck. That, again, these are just the two only places that I know that sell pizza. Unless there's a third company that actually sells more pizzas than Domino's and Pizza Hut, then that third company should probably take the loss if it's not hugely bigger than Domino's, because Domino's needs to take from some point of in the market, but Pizza Hut doesn't show that, which is really strange. So there must be a third player, because this is possible, but it's very unlikely.
I think we start to see the problem. When they say that no one outpizzas the Huts, I don't exactly know what that means, but it might not be true anymore. In the 1970s and even well into the 1980s, anyone who was around at the time can tell you that Pizza Hut used to be the national pizza chain. They were a national pizza...
Yeah, Domino's sprung up in the past 10 years or something like that, wasn't it? Because I suddenly just started hearing about, oh, don't eat a Pizza Hut, eat Domino's.
Pizza chain before there were national pizza chains. People had to make the choice of either going to the local regional place or to Pizza Hut. Any other popular chain that you can think of today was not a factor on a national scale until at least the 1980s. Then, over those next few decades, things got more competitive. Some of those smaller...
Look at the pizza. It's pre-cut. Look at how it's splitting before it even gets cut.
Decades, things got more competitive. Some of those small...
That's funny. That's a little bit funny.
Chains started closing the gap, but Pizza Hut still remained on top. That is...
So it was on top. This graph makes no sense in that case. How can Domino's just grow and not budge Pizza Hut at all? It makes no sense. They should be completely different business models in that case. I don't know. No, I don't have a solution for it. They need to be completely different business models. One's NFTs and the other one is actual money. It's pretty much it's water and oil. If he said, I'm assuming he's right, because this is a pretty good channel. But this graph makes no sense in that case.
Until 2018. As we saw in the graph, Domino's took over that #1 spot, and over the next few years have only extended that lead. That's meaningful. After 47 years...
Yeah, that is definitely meaningful. Domino's is not a bit... Oh! So... Okay, so now we know that was definitely the top and there was no third player. In that case, that means that either Pizza Hut was... Either 7,000 locations is not enough to fill all of America, and Domino's has more locations or better locations, which is hard to imagine, honestly, because better locations don't exist nowadays, pretty much. It's strange. It means that Pizza Hut, even though while it was the biggest, most recognizable brand of the time, they did not even corner the market. That's wild. That is an absolute fault of the company, of the leadership. The fact that they did not recognize that they have not cornered the market, which doesn't make sense because they can compare themselves to McDonald's. Sure, pizza versus hamburger is not exactly the same thing, but from just that alone, from the quantity of sales, you should be able to guesstimate have you cornered the market or not.
The world's #1 pizza chain, Pizza Hut, has fallen to second place,
Crazy.
and a distant second at that. In that same year, 2018, I actually asked the audience of this channel, what is your favorite of the big four pizza chains?
Oh, he's gonna say.
And after 46,000 votes,
Pizza Hut, Domino's, Little Caesars, Papa John. I had no idea what Papa John's was. I assumed they were, like, KFC. Oh, I had no clue. I had no clue Papa John's was a pizza place. I had no clue Little Caesars was a pizza place. And by the way, 46k votes is kind of a decent distinguisher to actually, almost be real life estimates of things. If Americans actually, if you assume that Americans actually voted, this is actually a pretty realistic picture. And, well, they're not so ahead, but interesting.
Domino's was the clear winner over the second place Pizza Hut. I believe further suggesting that people have moved away from them. More evidence would be the...
No, people haven't moved away from them unless you adjust for inflation. I'm kind of not... I'm thinking these numbers are not real. I'm thinking these are two different kind of numbers compared in that case.
Fact that their biggest franchisor, NPC International, filed for bankruptcy in July of 2020.
July 2020. Okay, let's look at the graph again because that is really important for our guesstimations. July 20. Oh, that explains the dip. Because that was probably already known. So they already started to do things differently. Okay, that explains the dip here in this case. That can explain the dip. In a corporate setting, you could be able to explain, well, why did 19 versus 20 go below? Because they lost a bunch through that place.
Second, and the clear winner. NPC International filed for bankruptcy in July of 2020. They were the ones who operated about 20% of the U.S.
20%? That's 1,500. That's a bigger number.
Pizza Hut locations. Of course, there were some other factors involved in that one, but it's not a good indicator of the state of the brand. Plus, it later led to an additional
300 Pizza Huts are closing after okay.
300 restaurant closings. And then finally, what about the logo change? Through most of their dominant
logo change
years throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, this was their logo. Then, in 1999, they changed it. They added...
Oh! Yeah, I as a non-American, I remember seeing this one, and I remember this one. As a non-American, I didn't even consider this. Changing a logo matters more than you may think, but again, we don't see it actually show in any kind of graph. Again, these graphs are so sus.
Did more colors and slanted everything. But then 20 years later, in 2019, they went back to that old logo.
LOL.
According to their chief brand officer at the time, embracing our iconic Pizza Hut logo is recognition of a time period where Pizza Hut unequivocally reigns supreme because that's where the future is headed. I take that to mean that the old logo represents a better...
Well, it's not like he honestly can state anything else if he wants to keep his job.
Time for Pizza Hut, and that bringing it back will remind the customers of those better times. I hope that we can at least agree that Pizza Hut has indeed seen better times. They've lost a lot of control of their market, and in this video...
So, they have lost, like, around 1,500 locations in, I don't know, like 4 years, let's say. Oh, considering they don't have a bigger negative swing in that case... means that's kind of okay. That actually means that they're still staying strong at the bare minimum.
I'm going to attempt to explain why. The very first Pizza Hut opened in Wichita, Kansas in 1958, and it could not have been more modest in the beginning. It was two brothers named Frank and Dan Carney.
It's always like 2 family members or a bunch of family members, by the way.
They borrowed $600 from their mom and used it to buy used equipment and rent out a small building not too far.
Imagine a time period where you can buy used equipment for making pizza, which now most likely costs hundreds of K, if not goddamn more, and renting out a bill. That's insane. You see why I said most places got their start in those times in America? Because it was just ridiculous. Now for $600 you're gonna starve.
Far from a university. I thought it was interesting that they called their first restaurant Pizza Huts, mostly because they obtained this sign that had only enough room for so many letters. And of course they wanted to use the word pizza, so that meant that their second word can only be 3 letters. They eventually settled on the word hut, and that was the beginning of the brand. If they had a bigger sign, things may have gone much differently.
Yeah,
early on, they valued quality pizza, good service, and believed in it so much that on their opening night, they gave away their pizzas to try to attract a customer base.
That is smart, by the way. That is smart. Most businesses make nothing in the first couple of years of them being open, unless you're a bullshit modern day Silicon Valley business.
It was an effective promotion, the restaurant did well, and after about a year, they were able to convince a friend of theirs to operate the first franchise location in Topeka, Kansas. It's also worth mentioning that part of their marketing early on involved this, I guess, stereotypical mascot named Pizza Pete. I believe that it was meant to double as a fun cartoon for the kids, while promoting the Italian authenticity of their food.
Italian? Seriously? Is it because of the mustache? I thought he's Mexican. I'm not gonna lie, I thought he's Mexican.
The pizza itself wasn't nearly as well known or popular at the time, so something like that was effective in drawing in customers and creating a fun environment. They adopted that red roof logo, started designing their restaurants in the same manner.
You and I know about that thing about Pizza Hut having those roofs. Man, it was such a different time, huh?
And continued franchising more and more locations across the...
You know what I honestly think about? How potentially much money can a franchise make if they just decided that, hey, we're gonna stop being this cold business place that doesn't want you to eat at it, we just want you to take takeaways, and start being again like, hey, come on, sit at the table, the table's nice and comfy, not a, steel chair or some shit like that. I wonder how much money would a place like that instantaneously get. Because it would be good, because everyone's tired of this corporate bullshit world that we are living in.
The United States and even into other countries like Canada and Germany, and by 1971, Pizza Hut had over 1,000 locations, making them the biggest chain of pizza restaurants in the world. 6 years later, when they had more than doubled to over 2,000 locations, they were bought by PepsiCo, and it was Pepsi that was able to take them to an even higher level.
2,000 locations, and Pepsi just buys them out like that, huh? That's honestly quite insane. And that deal was probably goddamn insane.
Surpassing 5,000 locations in less than a decade after the acquisition, and surpassing 7,500 locations when they spun it off, along with the rest of the restaurant division, into its own company that was...
Wait, that's the same number that they stated previously. That means that they think that they have legitimately made a Pizza Hut in pretty much every reasonable location there is. That just seems bullshit. That seems real bullshit, not gonna lie. Someone's been doing their job really, really poorly, or, they're good liars.
Owned by the public. If you want more details about their time with Pepsi and what was happening with all of that, I do recommend this other video that I made about Pepsi but that new company that it was now a part of.
I'm pretty sure, I haven't seen that, by the way. Well, maybe someday, because this channel is amazing. But Pepsi owns more than Pepsi. That's like the big thing about Pepsi. Pepsi means a bunch of actual different things. It's just their brand of Coke is named Pepsi.
Of was initially called Tricon Global Restaurants, but soon renamed to Yum Brands, which is how they...
I own roughly 3 stocks of Yum Brands. I had no idea they have Pizza Hut.
Exists today. Right now, it consists mainly of KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell, though some people have expressed the opinion that Pizza Hut has been the one holding them.
Oh, interesting. Why aren't they doing cross-promotions in that case? Or are they doing cross-promotions?
I'm back and should be divested. Now, when looking at the reasons behind the trouble happening at Pizza Hut, I think most of it can be explained.
Oh. Okay, boys, let's speculate on the problems. Let's speculate what's the reason why Pizza Hut is unsuccessful. So, usually, when you're the biggest cheese around, there's this problem with quality. That's usually what happens to a bunch of restaurants. If their quality drops, their sales drop. Because nowadays we live in a world where, well, you're not exactly without opportunities, you know. If you want a pizza, you can just open up an app and here you have all of your choices. So, being known as tasting good quality ingredients is a super huge deal. So that's usually the downfall of a lot of places like Pizza Hut. But in this case, considering we again saw this bullshit graph right here, I don't think that's the case. As strange as that is, I don't think that's the case. The only options that there are is pretty much the fact that they didn't go with the times. And I honestly don't even know how to explain went with the times, but they are 100% not doing something if they have been this insanely stagnant for such a long time. So, the number one problem, and probably the biggest problem, is the fact that they are not moving along with the times. Because Domino's came in and it was amazing, they most likely did not even copy Domino's. Because the moment that they saw that Domino's is actually growing, they should have started copying them. And they did not do that. Which means one of the problems is going to be that they did not go with the times in some way, shape, or fashion. And the second problem is, I don't even know. I'm pretty sure that number one problem can encompass almost any real problems that Pizza Hut has. Because I am willing to bet money it's not going to be food quality. In reality, it could be food quality. But I don't think he's going to name food quality. Everything we saw here does not scream in any way even close to food quality. So it must be something else. Maybe it's oversaturation? Customer experience? I don't know. These are wild guesses. I think one of them is going to 100% be the fact that they did not go with the times in some way. And the other one is going to be some kind of random bullshit that I maybe would have... If I took a longer time to think about it, maybe I would have put in the top... I don't know, in the top 10, like 10 slot or something. Interesting.
By two main issues. The first one being a lack of catchy menu items, and I'm...
Oh no! I should have said that. That was also... But again, that was a thought shot. I kind of did think about that a little bit, that that's a possibility, but... How do you not do that? It's like, this should not be a problem. This should not... Everyone does that. Have you not seen McDonald's, like, change their menu, like, 50 trillion times a minute? Have you not... Everyone does that. And you're telling me you're not doing that. You know there's only things to gain. You know you don't actually, like, need to introduce real new items. You can just switch the toppings around and make something new. The fact that they don't do this, that's kind of insane, honestly. That is really insane.
I realize that this might sound so trivial when you first hear it, but...
It's not trivial. That's like the thing. It is absolutely not trivial. One of the biggest things in the world that has been solidified in absolute adamantanium at this point is the fact that you need to keep people's attention in some way, shape, or form. And if you're like a place that sells food, well, that's probably creating a better menu. Or something like that. Or switching it up so people want to check what you're doing.
Let me explain. Today, seemingly every fast food restaurant has a never-ending sequence of new items that are...
Exactly! That's why it's so unbelievable.
Pumpkin-flavored or Cheeto-flavored or whatever. But Pizza Hut was somewhat of a pioneer at this, to a point where I would even say that these catchy, innovative menu items were once a major part of it.
Wait, so they did catchy and innovative food items and then they stopped... See? It makes zero sense that this is a How? What the hell is happening at Pizza Hut? Again, Nothing. This graph again. I can't stop pointing at this graph, but this graph makes so little sense. It's insane. I could probably like spend a week in their numbers to see what's happening and why it's happening. Man.
Their success. A couple of examples of what I would consider to be more gimmicky ones would be the Edge, with toppings way closer to the edge of the pizza than they should be, or the Big New Yorker, both introduced in the late 1990s.
Yeah, those sound like... No, actually, they don't even sound like old names. But at least it's something new, right?
Sold pretty well and kept people coming back to Pizza Hut. But then there's other examples of new menu items that they introduced that I would truly call innovative. Some examples there would be in 1980 when they came out with the pan pizza, or in 1995 when they came out with the stuffed crust pizza, famously
stuffed crust pizzas are ridiculously good.
Promoted by Donald Trump.
And Trump is ridiculously amazing at marketing.
Countless examples to show how Pizza Hut once had one of the most creative menus out there, which unfortunately may not be the case anymore.
Wait, why did they stop in that case? That's the real question. Why the hell would they just suddenly magically stop?
In late 20...
Because you can actually, like, you know, the people who are looking at these sales, it's so easy to say if swapping this menu items works or not. It's just not, it's a no-brainer.
14. You may be surprised to hear this, but Pizza Hut announced an all-new menu. They called it Flavor of Now and described it as...
Oh, that's a problem. You want to introduce new things on the menu? Sure, but a radical switch and making a completely new menu? Oh, sus. That's not good. That's huge. There have been situations when I heard a radical change like that has worked out, but it's like it's a pizza. You can't change the full menu. That's never gonna work.
Their biggest brand evolution ever. I mean, this was meant to be a big deal. They had new ingredients, new sauces, new crust flavors, new drizzles. Just a bold attempt to completely revamp their entire...
5 new ingredients. Peruvian cherry peppers. Cool. Fresh spinach. That's actually really good. Salami. Okay, I'm so confused. It's insane. Classic meatballs. Yeah, I don't think that's good. Banana peppers. These 4 are fine. Question is, did they seriously not have salami before? That seems insane.
Entire menu to make it appear fresh and more upper scale. And to go along with that new menu, they updated their website, the boxes, the uniforms, the logo. I think that the goal of this...
Oh, okay. The boxes, the uniforms, the logo, and the website. Yeah, that's a big deal. If they do it poorly, they actually would lose a serious amount of customers. Yeah, that's not a small thing to do. If they don't do it correctly, but we don't know if that worked out. When did he say that this is gonna happen?
More in late 2014.
2014. No. This makes no sense because this graph starts from 2014. So you're telling me they did a complete 180? Again, this graph is just bullshit. I'm calling it now. There's no way this graph is a representation of reality. There's something off with it. Because nothing is well, actually, we don't know what happened before 2014, so you know it is what it is.
Site, the boxes, the uniforms, the logo. I think that the goal of this was to shift their customer base away from families and more specifically toward millennials. I'm gonna go ahead and get...
That's always a mistake, because let's be real, millennials don't... Why would you ever switch your focus to the poorest generation of a goddamn decade? Why? Millennials are dirt shit poor. They're the poorest generation in 100 years or something.
Yes, that most of you barely remember this happening, or maybe not at all, because the whole Flavor of Now attempt was pretty much a failure. As we've already seen, it did nothing.
Well, it does nothing. But that admittedly does show that the brand is absolutely rock solid to a degree. But again, this is not adjusting for inflation, so in reality, this thing is a little bit down, because that's a huge yearly spread. Usually you don't look at that many years. Usually, you know, if you want to be completely objective in a lot of things, you just look at like the past 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 if you want to prove a point. But in reality, you just want to look at the last couple of reasonable years. Admittedly, if something like the coup happens, then you want to look at it a little bit differently. But still,
all to help their sales. If anything, they actually went down a tiny bit the following year. The CEO of Yum Brands confirmed that the results were disappointing, and as far as I could tell, it's mostly...
that should be expected, because you can't literally become a new brand overnight and then expect everything to go fine, honestly. Bolt to the Hut bundle. That's pretty funny.
Been abandoned. If anything, it probably just alienated their existing customers more than anything else. Overall, this suggests to me that Pizza Hut is not...
By the way, that should be 100% the case, yeah.
Quite what they used to be in introducing new menu items that appeal to their customers. I'm just saying that the Bigfoot Pizza was a little more successful than the Cockadoodle
Bacon, old-fashioned meatballs. Okay, so here's the thing that a lot of people misjudge, by the way. Let's say the Bigfoot Pizza. If you introduce the Bigfoot Pizza at the same time as a Cockle-Doodle Bacon TM, then sure, the most likely the Bigfoot Pizza is gonna get more clicks and more buys just because of its name. But that doesn't mean that the Cockle-Doodle Bacon Pizza is actually worse. Maybe it's not actually that bad, but because it was introduced exactly at the same time as something so overwhelmingly better as the Yeti Pizza or Bigfoot Pizza, then obviously it's gonna look worse than it actually is. You can't, you can't compare just these two pizzas. You can actually extrapolate, is it a good product based on every sale adjusted for, you take your previous, 6 months or whatever time period you're going to be looking at, you see the quantity of pizza sold, you see the different quantity of pizza sold, and then you compare that overall to the new quantity with the Cockadoodle Baconator, and that's how you can say if it's actually decent. Admittedly, you can just take it off also without any big real problems to keep it fresh, but hey.
Again, that's a weird sentence. The second part of their troubles, I believe, it can be attributed to being slow to delivery. And I don't mean...
No shot. That's impossible. This cannot be a real problem. There is absolutely no way. Because every company like Pizza Hut and whatever, they don't even have... actually, I don't know if that's an American thing or not, but everything has Bolt delivery, this delivery, WhatsApp delivery, and so on. You should never have a problem with delivery, especially slow to delivery. That's absolutely impossible. And, they have ovens that cook the pizzas in 5 minutes or something. If this is a problem for Pizza Hut, there is no shot in the dark that is not a problem for Domino's. You cannot... If this is a legitimate problem, this needs to be absolutely huge. That means that they don't have physically enough workers to actually make the pizzas, and that's why they're going slow. Because slow to delivery cannot mean that they actually take too long to be delivered by the courier. That means that... Well, that technically would explain this graph to a degree, that they are understaffed and every location just can't fulfill the quotas and they lose customers. But again, that's a long shot. I can't believe the slow to delivery. It seems impossible. It flat out seems impossible.
Taking over 30 minutes to deliver a pizza, so then it's too cold. I mean, taking too long to make pizza delivery in general, a major part of their business. Here's what I mean. Historically, pizza is the most common thing to have delivered, right?
Actually super true, yeah.
I mean, now more than ever.
In all the shows when you were a kid, you saw pizza being delivered. Yeah, it's always pizza delivery. True.
But it's been happening for a while. Before 2020, before online shopping, before any of it, people were having pizzas delivered. However, Pizza Hut was once famous for their family-friendly sit-down restaurants.
So they didn't... Okay, so it's gonna turn out that we were right about one thing, that they did not move... No, wait, this can't fit.
In the beginning of this video, when you were thinking back to those memories of birthday parties and personal pan pizzas, which is another Pizza Hut innovation, by the way, they took place inside of a Pizza Hut, not at home eating pizza delivered by Pizza Hut. It was like an event. It was an outing. It was not just about the food. In fact,
so you're telling me, no, that cannot be true. This insinuates that people don't order Pizza Hut because they eat still. That's impossible.
They didn't even offer pizza delivery at a large scale until 1986, and the only...
Yeah, but that's like 60 years of getting accustomed to it. There's no shot.
The only reason they did it then was because Domino's had been so successful with it.
Wait, so they did... So Domino's... Wow, Domino's has been that... I had no idea, because seriously, the first time I heard about Domino's was like 10 or 20 years ago. That don't order Pizza Hut, that shit, order Domino's. Wow.
I'd even say that Pizza Hut's lack of delivery during those times is a big reason that Domino's was even able to get their foot in the door in the first place.
Okay, that is understandable and actually believable.
I do have to say that after a late start, they have been aggressive with it, but I think the issue is that it's such a fundamental change as far as the public's perception. They've had
No, it cannot be a fundamental change because it's been 60 fucking years. The public's perception is already changed nowadays. It's like, who here honestly does not know that you can most likely order anything from fast food and get it delivered to you? No one's gonna say, well, I had no clue that it's even about... No.
All of these crazy marketing attempts to try to make people associate Pizza Hut with delivery. In 1989, they famously...
1989? But that doesn't explain now.
They delivered pizza to the White House. In 2001, they delivered it into outer space. In 2016,
don't remember that.
They delivered it onto Mount Kilimanjaro.
Don't remember that.
When they closed those 500 locations, the reason for it was to eliminate the dining area and to reopen them as smaller buildings.
Oh, yeah, that does make sense because most people order delivery nowadays. But... still slow. No, absolutely not. This is not real.
Fastest growing store models are the smaller ones that they call Delco, short for delivery and carryout. And part of their reasoning is that if every time you see a Pizza Hut, it's a little tiny building, you're going to reconfigure your mind and associate them with delivery. So
I don't know about that, Chief. Admittedly, I see them. I'm not saying Company Man is wrong in this regard. I'm saying that Pizza Hut themselves may be wrong in this regard. Because the moment I see a small McDonald's, I'm not thinking about, maybe I should order online. No, I'm thinking about, well, I'm not going to go in something that's that small and I need to, I'm just not doing that. But no one really thinks about pizza. Like, their old clients from the 60s are most likely all dead already because it's America with an average lifespan of like 50 years because reasons. No. The delivery part makes absolutely no sense. The slow delivery makes absolutely... It cannot be the reason. At least the way he explains it, I literally would... That cannot be the reason.
To summarize all of this, Pizza Hut is a very different place than it used to be. They've been around for long enough to have the world change around them. Parts of what made them popular before are no longer relevant, and they've been forced to adapt to those changes. Whereas some of their competitors, like Domino's or
Little Caesars Pizza, I have never seen this before. Wow.
Little Caesars first grew in that new environment, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like Pizza Hut is the older generation struggling to fit in with the new one. Some of their attempts to do it do seem to be a little slow or potentially misguided, but they are attempts. They know where they need to go, they just...
Okay, no. After seeing this, I'm gonna stick with my opinion, what I heard previously. Remember I literally said, I heard like 10 years ago about Domino's because... I remember the context was Pizza Hut the shit ordered Domino's. I think it's just the quality of the product in that case. I think just Domino's in that case is just making better pizzas and that's pretty much it.
don't know exactly how to get there, which gives me confidence that they will eventually make progress in the right direction. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about Pizza Huts? How have they changed over the years, and how has your perception of them changed?
Little Caesars, rise and fall and rise again. Is it gonna be because Pizza Hut fucking did an oopsie?
Do you even like their pizzas, or do you prefer one of their competitors? I do want to re-ask that poll from 2018 to see if we get different results, so be sure to check the community
It almost makes me want to Google their Pizza Hut's financial yearly documents and all of that good jazz. Oh, the yearly billings, good stuff. Anyway, this was Quizzer Citizen. I don't believe the delivery part. I think it's quality of. It must be the quality of the food, because there's no way. None of this makes sense. Like this graph makes 0 sense. Anyway, this was Quizzer Citizen. This is an amazing channel. We're gonna watch probably more of this because I love these videos. So have a nice day. Bye bye.